Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being here on the new year here as we're into 2024, the fourth year of this show. Really appreciate you joining us, whether it's your first time, your first few times, or whether you've been here since the beginning. Thank you guys so much. And we have something pretty unique here. Which is I have a couple guests on, which is the first time in 3.5 years I've ever had a couple guests on. But this will be fun to have these two on because this topic really dictates that both of them are joining us today. We're going to talk about the team effort that goes into rebuilding a program, what it requires from both coaches in terms of being on the same vision, in terms of what they want to do on X's and O's wise to coaching styles, and just what does it kind of take to kind of put a program together and rebuild that program, and how do the coaches themselves have to kind of come together to make that happen. So I'm really excited to kind of hear from multiple people and have multiple guests on to talk about this, and it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to this, and I am joined by a very familiar face. Coach Billy Joe Nix has joined us, who you may have heard in previous episodes discussing his coaching journey and his path becoming a coach. He's been on a few times. And I'm also joined by a new guest as well, Coach Dylan Cantu as well. Gentlemen, appreciate you being able to come on here. How are things going?
Going good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. Coach Nix, I'll start with you because you've been on here before, so your answer is going to be probably a little bit shorter about your basketball journey. But just as a quick refresher, maybe for those who are joining you here for the first time, talk a little briefly about your coaching journey and your basketball journey and where it is you're at now.
Yeah, I pretty much started coaching as a volunteer coach, with some of the youth players in preschool, kindergarten, things like that. Just as a way to kind of give back to the game, and then started coaching with travel ball with my son's age group, and then took my first Rio coaching job with the girls junior high team at Mendon Unity in Mendon, Illinois. Did that for a couple of years, and for the past 2 seasons, I've been here at South Fulton Athletic Co-op, which is Astoria, Illinois, and VIT, the combined school. So this is my second season here as the 8th grade head coach. It's been a pretty unique experience being here, going from a championship or bust situation to we got to dribble how to dribble the ball situation. But been pretty eventful, and it's a good test of your skills as a coach. So.
And we have a lot of episodes chronicling that journey as well. So if you really want to dive into it, we got at least 3 or 4, I think, talking all about his journey. And if you really want to go and deep dive into all of that, it's really great. Coach Cantu, you're going to get a little bit more in-depth response here. Talk about yourself. Where's the game of basketball taking you, and where's your coaching journey taking you?
Yeah, so I'm from Illinois, went to Elmwood High School, which is about an hour away from South Fulton. And I played high school basketball, loved it then. Went locally for college at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. And I wanted to do something with basketball there. And I saw that they had a manager position for the women's basketball team. So I took that opportunity to learn from the coaches, play defense, and they needed me to play defense, travel with the team, got to like dissect film and scouting reports. It was really cool. So I take some of my stuff from what I learned at Bradley. But after I graduated, I'm a teacher, middle school and elementary. So I taught middle school at Peoria, Illinois, and I coached 7th grade basketball there for a couple years. Had a really good couple seasons. One kid, he's now in high school and he might get Division I. Like, he was just amazing.
Wow.
So we had a really good team, but then transferred to a couple other schools, and now I'm here in Astoria, which co-ops with VIT for South Fulton. And I'll be honest, they haven't had a winning record in a while. And so it was more of a rebuild. I've been here for 3 years. My first year, we won only one game. So had a lot of patience, but we're building it. Last year, we won 10 games and went to a regional championship. So far this year, the 7th grade team has won 10 games and we're looking good. So we're slowly trying to build that back up.
So to kind of set the stage here, where was the program at a few years ago, and what do you attribute the maybe lack of success to? Was the foundation not there? Was the culture not there? Kind of set the stage of where was this program a few years ago?
Yeah, so I actually I got the chance to play South Fulton when I was in high school, and I played from 2008 to 2012. And I'll be honest, I didn't play a lot. And I always loved playing South Fulton because I knew I was going to get playtime. It's sad to say.
Yeah.
And I've asked our teachers, our adults here, and they haven't had a lot of winning records.
Okay.
You go in the gym, there's a lot of girls basketball banners, there's some football banners, but there's not a lot of boys basketball banners.
Yeah.
So they've been through a lot of coaches, so not a lot of continuity, and also there's not a lot of pride, which I remember when I was in school, there's a lot of pride to be on the basketball team. So you need a little bit more pride, you need a little bit more same coaching, but yeah, they're missing some of that, and hopefully we're trying to bring that back, being the same coaches we've been the same couple of years, and trying to give some more pride to be a part of this school and part of South Fulton.
And then Coach Nix, was that something that like you were aware of when you took the spot? Were you kind of aware of where it was that the program was at?
Yes, when I saw the job posting, I went back and looked. IESA has you kind of look back at records and things of nature and see where they're at and know that where the program has been, and I kind of knew it was going to be a challenge, but I knew it was something I wanted to tackle. I also knew that from being around the area that this is a pretty big emphasis on football school.
Yeah.
So they are, and it's a small school, so there's like 90 kids from one school, 90 kids from the other. A lot of small rural schools have the issue where they end up having to co-op for the actual schools, but these two programs have decided to keep their own individual community schools. They, even with that, we're losing families. So we lose athletes to other smaller schools.
Oh,
so
really?
Baseball is king also, like around here. So there's literally kids in other schools that we know of that are good basketball players that went because they wanted to play baseball at X school or Y school. I had to deal with that when I was at the other school at Mendon Unity, where there's a private Catholic school. It's down the road that good talent goes there.
Yeah.
But there's just, like he said, there wasn't really there didn't seem to be a lot of pride. When I did the interview for it, I told them winning is probably the third or fourth most important thing on my list, and it seemed to mesh well. It's like, hey, I want to come and be a place I can develop and really hone on my skill development area of coaching. So that's really what I wanted to focus on, and this seemed like the best place for it. So.
Yeah, and so you kind of come in and like you said, I feel like you kind of had the right mentality of like, all right, winning's gonna, if you do things the right way, like the wins come and the wins will kind of build on itself. But let me ask about the initial kind of conversations that you two had when you first came together and talked about goals that you had for the program, or the vision that you kind of had with the program. And either one of you can start first, it's fine. But what did those conversations kind of look like as you started to kind of brainstorm like where it is you wanted to take the program in the future?
So Dylan and I are kind of yin and yang.
Okay.
we're very much kind of like I'm kind of a calm, steady influence, and he's kind of a like, he's definitely more,
Okay.
I'm more Jay Wright, kind of an energy kind of a thing. Not that he throws chairs or anything like that.
Not
And
yet.
he's not. We're both
Not yet, yeah.
we both came to agreement. Like I said, like my number one thing is positive reinforcement, being positive, and we both agreed that was a good thing. And I told him, I said, I don't want to dictate what you do as long as we're both on the same page, that whatever we do, my main important things was we want to teach these kids actions, not offenses. So I said, and this is how I do it. I use the read and react offense in a lot of my stuff as a base set for things. So I said, I'm going to do a 5-out and a 4-out read and react, and then I'm going to have some kind of a continuity, zone buster. And that's kind of how I set things up at this level. And then, throw some other set plays in there here and then. And we both kind of agreed on things, and we kind of brought our own little plays and our ideas. And we just kind of agreed that like, hey, what we were going to do is we're going to have open communication. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't come in thinking that I'm the head coach and we're doing it my way. Cause there's some guys I see that they stand up for both games. They run the sets, they dictate subs and things like that. And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted his name to be on the registry as the coach for the tournaments and for the regionals and everything like this. Because it's important that we have a good personal relationship and a professional relationship. So, and he'd earned his right to be here too. So,
you kind of have like the mixture of styles in terms of personality, but you want to make sure because Coach Nick, you're on the 8th grade side, right?
Yes.
And then Coach Cantu, you're doing the 7th grade side. So like it's important, I imagine, that like both of you are having conversations about, this is what we want, to make sure that on the 7th grade side, like these are the things that we want to work on. Then it kind of like builds itself up to what they can do like the following year. So like there's got to be a lot of cohesion with that so that they're not going into 8th grade and like doing something like completely different. But at the same time, right, you got to let, your coach, the 7th grade coach, right? And then Coach Cantu, you got to let him like also have like his voice as well, right? Like that could be sometimes a little tricky, I know.
I think we kind of run some stuff a little bit different. Like we'll have within the way that we run the 5 and 4 out sets.
Okay.
Even something that I've kind of gone away from, something that I brought with me from Unity, like have a 3-out overload against a zone, and he really likes to use it. I like to run it a little bit differently now, but he likes to use it where he gets more of the high-low action. I'm looking more for bringing my wing underneath and trying to get that kick out and stuff and drop it into the low post. So we kind of run, and it has to do a lot with personnel and what they can and can't do.
Okay.
We've got a 7th grade kid that's a stud. That's pretty much the best player in our program. That's going to score, he scored like 30 points.
Yeah. He's like averaging 22 right now. He's
so,
player.
And when he's he's undersized, he's just a really freakishly athlete. So if he's in the game, we can do things, but by the time my game comes around, the kid's completely exhausted because he's just laid everything out there. It's okay, because like I said, I want my 8th graders to get as much time as they can because it's important for them to develop. But we'll definitely run things differently. So, it's not like, and I think I asked him like, hey, if you see anything, you let me know. And then if there's something like during a timeout, I think I learned this because at first I would be like, he'd be in the middle of time, hey coach, you should do this. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm stepping on his toes. It was
get excited and jump in there, right?
Right. Then I was like, timeout, his guys would go back on, hey, watch for this. And then he'd tell me something and we both kind of help each other out that way.
Yeah, I think we've worked pretty well planning our plays together because we have several 7th graders that play both 7th grade and 8th grade. So I didn't want a lot of confusion. I wanted them to be sure that, hey, this is what 8th grade's doing. And sometimes like he'll ask me like, hey, can I borrow these 3 7th graders to do this 8th grade drill? I'm like, yeah. So you got to be flexible because we got good numbers, but they're not amazing. So I want to make sure that they're not confused 7th or 8th grade. And I know he runs plays that they do in high school, so that way they're not confused then. So I like that we have some similar plays.
Yeah, no, that like it's kind of that balance of you have like as a program, this is where like we want to go, and so we want to kind of have similar terminology or similar like things that we run, but at the same time, like you have your own personalities, right? You have your own preferences of things that you like to do within that. And I think that that probably helps so that you're not just the same person. Because I don't think that really helps a program if two coaches are like the exact same. I think they have to be working together, but not be like identical. Otherwise, like why are there two of you if you're just going to do the same thing or be the exact same person, right? But uh, sometimes I know that can get a little bit tricky. I wanted to ask about what went into your practices and how do you kind of work together? Do you practice together? Are there separate practices happening? What does that kind of look like for y'all?
I mean, I think we kind of come up with a set goal. So usually what happens is I come up with we'll start meeting a little bit ahead of the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, hey, I've already come up with the first 2 weeks, right? Because the first 2 weeks are very crucial. And then we'll talk through it, see what we need to get rid of, add away. I think as a coach too, I like, especially last year, I had a tendency to just like want to jump into the offense way too quickly. And then you get away from that, the more realizing that, hey, fundamentals is key and you have to be ready to just let these kids dribble for 30 minutes sometimes, you have to do that. So get away from it. Dylan will come with me. He's like, Coach, I've got all these drills, and it's like, just research books and things like this. I mean, I have some of that too, but I don't delve into it. He'll come up, and then so the first couple of weeks we kind of sit through and I kind of come up with the base of it. And then we kind of agree and disagree. And then we come up, say, all right, now we set it. After that, after our game start, we kind of adjust it a little bit. Because then, then we kind of do heavier cardio days, lighter cardio days, a little more stretching here, a little less there, obviously game situations and things like that. And then kind of like to make sure that he has ownership. I have sometimes where I'm just like, Dylan, you got practice today, or you got practice.
Okay.
Because he's been a head coach and he can do it. It's not, he can run a program right now. He's capable of it. And there's times where he's got an appointment or something like that, or I have a thing and we back each other up on those. But we'll definitely say like, hey man, what do you think? We kind of talk about after the game. We'll talk about what we really need to work on. And I'll say, hey man, we're just missing too many free throws. And he'll be like, so he started bringing in pressure free throws. So, 4 or 5 guys at a time, they'll start shooting, and every time they miss, they have to run an up and back. So,
I like that. Well,
so-
they probably don't like that, but I do.
oh, they don't. The free throw percentage has gone up. So,
Yeah.
And
probably-
it's been a kind of a guy where I'm like, get your cardio during in-game drills. But seeing that, and Dylan's been more of a like, run till you puke kind of a guy.
That's
But not necessarily, but that's where our balance of our personalities kind of works together.
Yeah.
So
I would like to say being able to coach 7th grade here with Billy, he's given me a little bit more freedom to be like, hey, can we do this today? Hey, I want my 7th graders to run this today. And like, it's awesome to get more like opportunities that way, because when I was in Peoria, I mean, I was the 7th grade coach, but it was more the 8th grade coach leading everything, and I was just helping him.
Yeah,
Here,
in the background, yeah.
Yeah, I have a little more freedom here to like, hey, can I do this today? It's like, yeah, let's do it with the whole team. So it's nice to have a little bit of freedom.
yeah, we'll plan things like he's got a new press that he wants to do. We'll set up. I'll run dummy defenses for him. I'll have him run dummy defenses for me. And then like when it's time for his tournament, his county tournament, like where's getting him ready? When it's time for our county tournament, they're getting us ready. So that's kind of how we do things too.
Yeah.
So we kind of, and we mix and match our rosters and things like this. So it's, and then last year we only had 3 8th graders.
Yeah.
So his roster.
Oh, did you? Wow.
So it
Yeah.
was, now I've got pretty much a full roster, but a chunk of our best athletes are on the 7th grade team still, but they can now we have 8th graders that can really compete with them and everything like that too. So we like to get them to compete. Sometimes it gets feisty though.
It does.
Yeah. But like, I think that
It's feisty
seems
with us
like,
too. We don't like
yeah.
to live with each other. He's
Yeah.
more competitive than me though.
Well, it's so Coach Cantu, let me ask about what about these practices did you kind of realize like, okay, this is the step in the right direction? What did you see as like, these are the improvements that we're doing in practice by making our practices better that I know is like helpful for the program? What did you kind of notice or observe?
So my first year here, we had a different 8th grade coach, and he did all right. I'm not going diss him at all. He just had a different approach to basketball. And when Billy came my second year here, I just liked that he honed on the fundamentals. He had planned practices, because if you have a plan, even if you don't go by the plan, but if you have like a set plan,
Yeah.
it helps a lot. And he's like, I want to do this for our shooting. I want to do this for our trap. I want to do this for our offense. Like, I could tell, even when I was part of the interview process, I could tell this guy knows basketball, and he is going to help us a lot just because he's really knowledgeable. So the basketball IQ and planning out all of our lessons and all of our game plans, like, it just seemed more prepared, and it seemed more we were ready.
Yeah, and that practice plans, I can't stress that enough. I think it scares me to even like think about not having a practice plan or not having like that vision, of like what it is that you're going to do. I don't know, maybe some people can do it really well, roll out the ball and figure it out on the fly, but not me. I need to know, like, I need to see what's happening. Like, I need to know, I need to think about it and go over it. And it sounds like you two probably also have conversations, I imagine, afterwards, like after practice about, okay, like we like this. This was good that we did this. We need to work on this next time. It seems like you guys probably, and I'll let y'all speak to it, but I get the sense that you two do a lot of debriefing about like, even in a practice, like what worked or what didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. If we thought that drill didn't help at all, we're like, hey, let's just scrap this for the future. Or if we thought like, hey, we need to do more of this because this is what we really need to hone on. Like, lately it's been our rebounding drills. Like, those have been really helpful for us. We're like, we need to do this more. So yeah, we recap after games, we recap after tough losses. I mean, yeah, we recap a lot.
Yeah. There's a really good communication, which is something I hadn't had before. So, which and again, no knock with where I was completely separated from the other program a lot, being so far away and everything. Sorry, one of my players is asking when practice is.
Hey, perfect.
Never
stops what we're doing. I know, I've been there.
It's like ask your parents.
Yeah.
But after just a really communication, and I think we actually get along personally. Like, I think we're friends. So
I won't put anyone on the spot to answer that. No, I'm just kidding. I think we're friends. Like,
I think we're friends. No, we get along really well. So
yeah.
I think we do, because we're very open. So like, if we have disagreements, we're not going to sulk about it or put in our back pocket. Like, we put it out there. We're like, hey, I don't really like this, or I don't like that. And then so our disagreements don't last long because we just say it right then and there.
Yeah.
And I think also too that players can definitely pick up on whether or not coaches get along or not. Like they'll know right away. And if they like, and to put this in a positive sense, like I imagine because the players know that you two get along and you're on the same page, they feel comfortable probably going to either of you with a question or something that they want to know, or they know that like what one coach tells me, the other coach is going to back it up. Like, I think that makes things so much better when players like can see that and they don't even have to like try and test that at all.
And then they also aren't going to come to one coach expecting to get a different answer, because the whole like play mommy and daddy against each other. It's like, no, we're both the bad cop, and like you're not going to. Those are good cop, bad cop here. like, you're not going to get me to say something bad about Coach Cantu, and he's not going to say anything bad about me, at least not to the players, maybe to his wife. When
But that stuff can definitely undermine a team. No, for sure, and can definitely.
I've been around it, and I've seen it in action, and it can, from my days in the military, and morale can destroy in a unit, and undermining authority can also do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What did you guys do? I know culture is such a, it almost seems cliche at this point to use that word, but I can't think of a better word, which is probably why it's used as much as it is. But what did you guys kind of set out as kind of like visions in terms of kind of changing the perception of the program, getting the excitement built up? What kind of went into that aspect of rebuild?
I think his energy. I really think his energy set the tone. Honestly, like I couldn't, I was like the energy guy for a long time.
Yeah.
I found that my type of energy was kind of different. It was, I don't know what it was. It was too nervous. It was too much. Like, I got my players. He's got the right level. Somebody can be like really like, and then like I was like, is this guy? And they probably see me and think I'm going to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Dylan's got a good positive energy. During practice and stuff like that. And even when he's talking with the players, I think it has to do a little bit with his experience as a teacher also. Because he knows how to speak with the Utes, as they would say, with the Utes, as Joe Pesci would say. So he gets the kids riled up in a good, positive manner. He gets them motivated in the locker room, and they really feed off of him. He's really good with that group of kids in general, with his boys. But I really think that his energy has helped set a big tone. And it's really great having him with me. So.
Yeah, I think I love basketball, so I make sure my kids see that my passion is in there. But I think besides passion, you need to have obviously some pride. Billy's been lucky enough to help us get new jerseys, new warm-ups. I mean, stuff that kids feel proud of, because our jerseys were like 20, 30 years old, and like they didn't want to update them at all. So he's like, hey, I want to get some new stuff for them, some new swag. That way they can feel proud about being part of this team, so we can have some type of pride back in here.
Yeah.
So,
the hustle belt too.
And the hustle belt.
So gotta talk about that.
We got a Mr. Hustle. It's a belt, and basically whoever hustles the most gets to wear it. It's something I started at Unity. And the ladies loved it, so I was like, I bring it here because the dudes are gonna love it too. So, they can take the belt home and beat up their siblings or whatever it is. I have to sign a disclosure statement, and I do.
Yeah.
It's those little things like let them know, and then this Saturday we're taking a team trip to go watch a Bradley men's basketball game.
Yeah.
So.
As an Illinois State alumni, I guess that's okay. I guess going to see Bradley's fine. But you know what? They're trust me, it's better basketball happening at Bradley, I know, this year than anything at my alma mater. So that's probably for the best. They can actually see properly executed basketball. That's funny. But I'm sure the excitement is about like that belt, and right. I remember you brought it up in a previous conversation we had too about that. I'm sure they all get all excited for each other when they earn it. Just like those little things, you see that excitement they have for each other when somebody else wins it. Like, man, what a cool feeling, right?
It's been a lot of talks because at this age too, there's hormones, there's more hormones, there's all the social interactions, there's the stuff that they're dealing with at home. There's some boys that have different lifestyles at home, and there's some kids that we're the best role model they have. Not to like brag about it, but we try to give them a positive environment, something they can belong to. Because if you give kids something, that a team that they can actually belong to, and they give us a safe spot, and then you build a culture of, and what again culture, but like that's I think culture is like a positive energy. In a place where you're welcome and you belong, and we're going to fight together, and everybody's got your back. That's kind of what we set. And then and we say basketball is a simple game. We want to put the ball in the basket. We want to stop them from putting in theirs, and this is how we're going to do it. And that's kind of how we approach the game, but we got to build this first. We got to be together to do these things. Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of all how everything has kind of gone forward from here.
Yeah, no, so with that being said, then that leads me to think in terms of follow up. At what point did, and either of you can answer this first, but at what point did you really start to realize like, oh, like things are changing here? When did you like really get that sense that like things were like going in the right direction? Was there like a moment, or is it just kind of like a feeling that hit you, or what was that? When did that realization kind of hit?
I would say last year when we helped the 7th grade team go far in regionals. I mean,
Yeah.
they were a 500 team, which I thought was just that's a win itself because the year before they were only 1 win, and so we didn't have high hopes. I mean, we always have high hopes, but a lot of people didn't think we were going to go all the way to the championship for regionals, and we helped them on along the way. And yeah, maybe we lost the championship, but like we still got there, and we haven't been to the regional championship in over a decade.
Yeah, it was the first
So
time they'd won a game. The program had won a game in a regional in like
Wow, really?
10 years, and the
That's
first time
incredible.
they went to a championship in like 13. So, and like Dylan said, there's a lot of girls basketball things here. Carly Taylor is one of the girls coaches here. Her dad, Carl Beebe, is the girls head basketball coach. She scored 2,000 points here as a varsity player, and she played D2 basketball at Quincy University. Even yeah, so there's very good girls basketball here, right?
Yeah.
There's always at least one stud female basketball player here that has a potential to go on to do things like this. There's been some good basketball. There's a guy, Justin Batterton, who is down the road at Lewiston, who's one of our rival schools. He came here, he played South Fulton, he played at Monmouth College. So there's been good basketball players throughout here. Casey Jones, who's the varsity coach, was a good basketball player here. There's been good athletes, but there just hasn't, for the boys' side, there hasn't been just really good put together teams.
Sure.
Our varsity team is having a heck of a season this year too. It's because the senior boys care. They were bugging me because they knew I moved into town last year, and they were bugging me because my son's on the JV team. I was like, hey Gabe, ask your dad if he can let us in the gym. And his boys are always in the gym, right? And I'm not their coach, so there's no contact rules with that. So they can come in the gym and shoot, And I was taking one of the guys down with me to Bloomington with my son's trainer, who's Brandon Hand, plug for Hyan Hoops in Bloomington, who works with guys like people from ISU. Actually, Paige Wright, who was drafted in the WNBA, is one of his coaches. There's people that are putting effort in, that are building this program, and it's coming from this bottom level up. There's kids that are like dedicating themselves, and we're seeing just a whole culture change. So and like he talked about, when there was that success last year with them, and the high school boys bust and came and saw us, and we see the effort that's happening at the high school level, it's just you can feel it. You can just kind of feel everything pushing.
yeah.
There's still outside skepticism. Oh, it's just basketball. But you know what? You give me 6 guys and we can go far. 6 or 7 guys, we can go far in a regional or sectional or even state tournament. So
yeah, and you're in kind of that unique position where like you are not like you're rebuilding, but also like you're also not the final destination for these players either. You're trying to get them up and going, and I'm sure at the high school level, I imagine they have to be appreciative of the effort that you're doing rebuilding your program for when they move on to the high school level to play.
Well, my whole goal was to basically from what I watched on film and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or I took the interview, was there just needs to be accountability for these guys, which was Dylan's thing was like, there's not accountability because kids were throwing up one-handed 3-pointers. And I remember
oh no.
and there was an accountability for their behavior and how they, would just leave and do whatever they wanted. And just fundamental stuff, because then you were getting kids who were they were not ready to run things at the high school level. So like for my 8th graders, I started throwing in some of the high school set plays that they run.
Yeah.
So they're ready for the freshman level, because I saw that some of the stuff that I was doing, I'm willing to scrap what I'm doing and add something else, and I'm willing to throw what they do to prepare them. And you got to have that kind of a sense of humility as a coach to realize that, hey, it's best that I just get them ready for that next level. And that's what we're supposed to do. I mean, if we win a championship, that's great. We always want to win, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
I've been in a program where there's 6 or 7 state championship banners, but there's no high school championship banners. So
Yeah.
something,
So a
something
little bit of a disconnect there at that point.
there's
Yeah.
a breakdown there. There's a
Yeah.
breakdown. So
Yeah.
like, and honestly, at the junior high level, you can have 1 or 2 stud athletes and go pretty far.
Yeah.
Especially 1 and 2A basketball. So
Yeah.
you cannot do that in high school. You have to have 5 to 6 guys at minimum that are absolute can play mistake-free basketball, that are fundamentally sound, that can do everything, defensively and offensively. And you go out there, and there's about 7 or 8 guys in that varsity team right now that are just really great ball players.
Yeah.
And there's probably about 2 guys that can play at the next level. So,
Yeah.
And I know one of them at least has some offers. So,
Wow. That's really cool.
Great. So,
yeah, I mean, it all builds, right? What you're doing in like 7th grade, it's going to build up to 8th grade, but then ultimately you want them all to get out to high school and like just flourish, right? And just blossom out there. Yeah. Fantastic. So what do you attribute, again, either one of you can answer, what do you actually attribute the on the court success to? Because I mean, that's a lot of wins, big turnaround and wins. Is it just as you mentioned, kind of like the discipline and just kind of the way that the culture has kind of been like reestablished? Were there things that maybe you thought like really worked at a middle school level on the court that you think was like really key to it? What do you think like led to more in the win column for you guys?
I think it was a little bit both of a new practice plan, a new approach, and also we got a new group of kids that are just very basketball IQ savvy. Like, these kids know basketball. They can just play basketball. Even if the play breaks down, they know what to do. So I think it's a little bit of both. We show them that we're prepared. We got a whole list of things that we want to do in practice. We want to see them to do in games. But also this group of kids that we have now, they really want to play. They really want to almost impress us. Like, they want to, like, if we lose the game, like, they feel bad. We're like, hey, coach, I'm sorry. It's like, don't be sorry. Like, it happened. So we got some kids that really, really care about this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes back to where, when I said I'd like to do the reading rack stuff, because it just kind of teaches them stuff. Like, I can't remember, it was during our Fulton County tournament. We had one of our big guys, Calvin Gorsuch, said, hey, coach, he's like, if I do a ghost action here, it's going to work. And I about fell out of my chair. So just like doing it, this kid realizes that if he does a slip screen, he's a 7th grader. He played a little bit of a 7th grader realized that they were kind of overstepping the pass. And if he just did a slip screen, that he could get open. And I'm like, do it. Just do it, right?
React, right? Read it and react to it.
So that's the kind of stuff that, like, and it's taken a while to get there. But they're starting to do those things. They're starting to just play basketball. They're starting to, like, even in the play sets, and we talk about it. Hey, so I like to do like restrictive 3-on-3 games. Like, hey, 3-on-3, but you have to score off of this action, or you can only shoot within this area. So those kind of things that you put them into those restrictive situations, and I think that helps build IQ. And then putting them in offensive sets where it's like, they're like, coach, what do I do here? Like, what do you think you do here? Tell me about it. And they're probably like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, but eventually they get it. It's like, oh yeah. And so then when they're playing, and then when I see them like later on in 2 or 3 years down the road, and they can just like, do a scissor split and cross over and go down on a transition break, I'm like, okay, that guy's just playing basketball. So that's you. So I think
it's going to be messy too. I know reading rack gets messy, but like, I think with that, and not to cut you off, but I feel like you have to be comfortable as a coach, like letting them make mistakes in that. And just like, cause that's where the learning comes. And I know as coaches, sometimes like, I just want to fix it all for them, but like letting them go through the process of making mistakes and learning from them is like, especially at, the middle school level, like, I'm sure that has to be invaluable, because they'll learn quickly. I know.
Well, we do have set continuity style plays that are meant to calm them down. And also, when you have certain substitutions, and you got to kind of go with the personnel.
Yeah.
So, and trying to get, idealistically, I think we have, I know for me, like if I was his squad, right, I've got the one big guy who I would really want to be in a 4-out position and get the ball to him and have him just like pass it to cutters left and right, kind of like a Villanova style,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. But like, I don't know if they're quite there yet, but you always, as a coach, you always think of like what could be, right?
What it could be. Yeah.
I could put brain in their body, if my knees didn't hurt, if I could be that, if they could just see it. But they're starting to slowly get that stuff. And our hope is by the time that they're freshmen, that they're able to just kind of consume the information from the coaches and go out and execute. Because even if they haven't ran that specific play, they understand the language and they understand the actions of what they're supposed to do.
And I imagine at the 7th grade level in particular, like it's probably a lot of effort to be putting that in, because I don't know in terms of how much they got, with their younger levels, but you can speak to it, like how much they're actually like learning basketball for the first time. I feel like for some of them, that may be the first time they've really learned about like playing the sport versus like kind of going out there and just sort of running whatever sort of thing.
Oh man, the first time I tried to explain a get action to them, they looked at me like I was speaking Chinese.
or pivot.
Yeah,
they never heard the word pivot before. So it's just like, okay, we gotta go back to some basics. But that's fine. I told them, ask questions if you need to ask questions. So
yeah, and I think that's in some cases, I imagine, I'll let you speak to it, like that could be part of the struggle with a rebuild, is like you feel as if you're teaching like almost from scratch, and that's a lot of effort, and that's a lot to go through. But also at the same time, at least you probably have to feel confident that you're teaching it the right way, because you don't have to like have them unlearn anything that like maybe they shouldn't have been learning previously. I don't know. I feel like there's kind of a balance there.
Yeah, I think we teach them fundamentals the first 2 weeks because we want to make sure everyone knows the correct way to dribble, correct way, more than one correct ways to shoot, to rebound, all this terminology that we're going to use.
Yeah.
We want to make sure, hey guys, you understand what we mean by a back screen. Do you understand what that means? And because in the past, I mean, we had high school students that didn't know how to dribble, how to pivot, what triple threat was, because they were never taught that in junior high.
Yeah.
So we want to try to erase any of those holes that they might have, at least in the first couple weeks and then throughout the season. But it's challenging. But I mean, I'm a teacher, so I know you have to have patience. But we rather they mess up here than mess up in high school.
Yeah, and it's let them like. I've coached. I coached middle school for a few years, and I remember once, a high school coach was like, he came up to me and was just like about some concept. I don't know if it was a screen concept or something like that, and it was just like they don't know what that is, and I was like, well, I never coached them on it, so whoops. Now that I know, maybe I should coach them on some of these things. We were just having a conversation, but yeah, like it kind of clicked for me. Like, all right, I want to make sure there's all this like basic terminology and stuff that they know, because I don't want to set them up for failure in high school. And I feel like if there's certain things they didn't know how to do by the time they got to high school that I feel like they should have, it's like, well, shoot, it was probably on me to teach them those things, and they didn't learn it. That's kind of my fault, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I imagine you're kind of like, you know what, like I gotta teach all this terminology, I gotta get you guys ready, and maybe you'll use some of it in high school, maybe it was all of it, not as much of it, but like you're gonna at least be aware of it, right?
Well, I think that just like everybody too, especially with when you're talking small school ball, is like we've all got to have realization that coaches is that the athletes make us look good. Like you said, we've got a good group of kids that are and not to knock Dylan or not to knock myself. Like we do I think we put in an adequate amount of time, and we've done an adequate amount of time to get to where we're at as coaches now. But like, you can coach until you're blue in the face, but if you have a kid that can't go execute it, you're not, and then it doesn't matter. So you could talk about terminology, you can do the things, but in the end, if one of our kids just grabs 20 rebounds and puts up a bunch of points, he's like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, good job, coach. Like,
it's all my coaching, right? That's what it was. Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with small school ball. I mean, down the road, Southeastern, which is a smaller school, they had a kid, Danny Stevens, who's now playing at Mizzou, who is 6'7", and his entire family is just they're monsters, and there's like 3 or 4 of them, I think. I can't remember. And his sisters are good. And, not that his coach was bad or anything like that. But, the kid could just flat out play. We have not had as good of a season this year without him. So, that he was a 3-level scorer. He could do anything from anywhere. He could shoot from the logo. He could dunk it. He could do whatever. So you have that guy, it's like I always say, like, Phil Jackson was a great coach, but I would be great if I had Jordan and Pippen and Grant and Kobe and Shaq and all these guys too, he had everybody. That's more about managing personalities and all that stuff. But, we got to get those kids, but, I think that's where all that preparation now, all those like, I think it's much more satisfying to see a kid that has never made a basket make a basket.
Get that first one.
I think that's coaching. To me, that's coaching. That's like a kid that can't even tie his shoes, goes out. We have a kid now, right? I won't say his name, but the kid just physically struggles at everything. Like it's apparent, but we all love him. He's a great kid. And the kid just now he can dribble the ball and he's not quite shooting, but man, he'll steal it and he'll go on the court and he'll get so close, right? But like he wouldn't have stolen the ball. He would have fouled somebody and he would have dribbled it off his foot. But he's like just the leap in like ability year after year. The effort has always been there, but it's just like it's so rewarding to watch that kid. So rewarding.
That's so fun.
That's love. That's what I love.
That's really cool. I'm thinking about a couple players I've had in the past who it's the same thing where it's like, oh boy, and then they do something. It's like, oh, it all clicked, and it just like it feels like we won the game right there.
Yeah.
Like, all right, game's over. We just won. Because I saw that. That's awesome. Where do you guys kind of see kind of the future of the program? You kind of on the rebuild. You're kind of on the right track. Getting to where it is you want to. But what's next? Where do you want to continue to kind of get to or continue to grow as a program?
I think, obviously our fans want us to win, and I know we will. Continuing our passion, continuing our pride. We always hone in on like summer open gyms, or even before the season starts, like we try to talk to them, like building that rapport, because this team, not just junior high, but in high school, can be very successful. So I always tell people that ask me, where do you see this team in 5 years? I see state, honestly. And hopefully it's both junior high and high school, but I know at least for junior high, I see us going to state. Like we could be as hard as a lot of our teams. Yeah, right now we're a few steps away, but I think we're getting closer and closer.
That's awesome. Coach Nix, what about you? Where do you see the future headed?
I see definitely like this year. So we had a couple of teams reclass into our regional. And one of them is my kids' old school that we moved from in Abingdon Avon. They're very good. Their 8th grade team is very, very good. So I think I can meet them in the championship this year. I really do. But I think it's going to be a very big uphill battle for the 8th grade. Earlier this year, Coach Cantu and his squad faced the other really good team in the regional. Started off really sloppy, but ended up giving them a heck of a fight. I think they can meet them in the championship, and I think they can win that. I think they can win that regional. So I think we can bring home some kind of hardware this year. That's our goal. That is our optimistic goal. Sectional is a different thing.
Is that a different story?
Yeah.
Yes. There's a team that's not far down the road in Brown County, and they're very, 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 very,
really?
very, very good. Yeah. So that it'll be an uphill battle, but I think we have the full roster. And we could face them, I think maybe it'd be a different story. So, but it'll kind of depend.
In terms of things like culturally, or the things where maybe the off the court stuff, is that you just want to continue? Do you want to just keep doing what you're doing and you're happy with things are in place? Are there any things that maybe you're looking to add or put in, or is that a conversation that's going to come up between you two later, or where's that? Where do you kind of see that at?
I think doing a camp is something that we want to do at some point. I think we definitely have a camp with the little kids.
Okay.
And then I think more just more involvement. Like this year, he's got 15 kids.
Yeah.
15. That's a blessing and a curse if you've ever coached junior high basketball. And we all know, because we all know kids, there ain't all Michael Jordan on that team. But there's 15 kids. That means that you're going to carry, hopefully, a good number of those kids over. And some of those kids are going to develop, because we also believe that, and when I tell them is like, what you are now is not what you are going to be next year. And nobody's going to dictate that but yourself. So if you keep working hard and you call us, and we will work with you, it doesn't matter. Like, come to the open gyms, do these things and get better. Now, we've already seen improvements in some of those kids that haven't seen a lot of playing time, just by sheer effort. So I think hopefully we'll see a little bit more involvement. I never want to see numbers as low as we did last year.
Yeah.
That's, I think we want to have, I think the future, if I had to summarize what I really want to see for the future, is consistent numbers. Consistent numbers.
And what do you think the key is to getting numbers up? What do you think has to happen? Because I think a lot of programs are like, oh, numbers. What do you think is key to getting those numbers up?
We need to have a lot of incentives and incentivize basketball, because in June it's just so hard to get people because they're doing baseball or football, or they're on vacation. So it's like we barely get people. So we really need to give them some more pride. He was lucky enough to get us some new jerseys and some new swag, which is great. It's hard, but like, you got to find new ways to incentivize basketball, because it is an amazing sport. And these kids should be like thrilled to be part of this team
and dying to get in the gym.
Yeah. And we got to recruit hard. Winning fix everything. Yeah.
Well, that is true. You start winning a few things to get a little hardware up there. It's like, oh,
I mean, we did pretty good last year. They got 15 kids that showed up, so that's pretty good.
If we win, that'll help them be like, oh wow, I want to be part of a winning team. Like,
it kind of snowballs, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
I think, absolutely incentivizing things, and then also just more involvement. Like right now, we don't have a presence in the other school. Like, right, Coach Cantu works here at Astoria. I work in another place in Macomb, and then so we're not there. So a larger part, it kind of depends. Like one school will have more boys, the other school will have more boys. Kind of flip flop. So that's why I'm thinking, like, getting involved with the kids when they're younger. I'm going to try to be more involved. I'm going to try to go out to their now they have their summer, or their 5th and 6th grade basketball.
Oh yeah, getting out there.
Yeah, we get there and go see them. I'll try to make it to some of their baseball games this summer.
Oh, there you go.
Try to do that.
Got it planned out. You got some plans ready.
Support them in other things. Let them know that you care about them outside of just being a basketball player too.
Yeah.
I go to track events and stuff like that too. So, because if you let them know that you care about them more than just being a basketball player, then that's care about them as people. Then they'll want to play, and then they'll, some of them got like 8 or 9 siblings too.
Hey, bring them in if they're younger too. Yeah, let's make a whole family affair out there.
Yep, there you go.
That's awesome. Last question before we hit our concluding segment. What is in your guys' experience kind of the keys to keeping the families and the parents engaged, positive, on board, making sure that side is taken care of? Because as we know, when the parents are happy, makes our job a lot easier when they're bought in. So would anything have to go into that, or what was that process of making sure that the family and parents were on board with what y'all were doing?
I think when we had our parent teacher meeting before the season started, we were very clear on our expectations. We had contracts for the kids to sign about what their behavior should be, what their academics should be. And we have a lot of communication. We have an app, the Remind app, where we just tell them all this stuff. We have a lot of parents that ask us questions about like playtime, and we get to them right away. So I think communication overload, like you like to say, is very helpful. Because I don't mind asking these questions. I don't mind if it's a hard question. I get parents for my 4th graders, they ask me a lot of hard questions, so I'm used to it. So I think that they're glad that we're very open to everything. We're not shut off. I always tell them practices are open. If you want to come watch, come watch. So they know that we're not shy. We hold high expectations for our players, and we'll communicate about anything, or be something easy or something hard.
Yeah, it's
But I can't really.
go ahead.
I agree. It's well said.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but it seems like that becomes a bigger and bigger source of like anxiety maybe for coaches, or there's just like a minefield, and I know some coaches compare it to like dealing with parents, but hopefully like if you have that meeting early, and that, like, it sounds like you did, or you have that meeting and set the tone right away. It's Coach Cantu, you're a teacher, like that parent phone call, you want to have that in the beginning. You don't want to
Yeah.
wait till like the kid does something to have that first contact, because that relationship, I know in my experience, takes a much different turn when that first phone call isn't so positive versus it being a positive one.
We have a good backup from our administration, which
That
is
helps. Yeah.
So it's not everybody has that. So
Yeah. That's
I've seen
great.
coaches will get thrown under the bus right
Get
away.
thrown under the bus, and then you're getting called into the office, right? And you're having to defend yourself, and it's like you're already found guilty.
Listen, we're going to play. We're going to coach the way we coach. We're going to play the way we play. And if you don't like it, I'll move on.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's
And
tough, but that's how you have to do.
We're pretty fair about playing time and things like that, because we do realize, it's junior high, and there are opportunities where we're going to go for wins, and we're going to play some kids heavier minutes, because as a team we agree, and this is what we explain to our players too. Is like, hey, we agree that we're in a position to win, so we're going to say that these 5 to 6 guys are going to give us as a team the best chance to win. Do we agree with that? Yeah. Okay. We're out there. We're going to try to win this as a team. Everybody on board, and then they buy into it. You get the kids to buy into it, then they explain to the parents, hey, these guys are our best players, we're going to try to win it. So
yeah, and like you mentioned, right, you do the best you can at the middle school level, and you get everyone involved and you get everyone playing, but there's certain times, right, where you're going to need your guys to be out there, and it's not like it's in theory anyone's last chance of playing basketball, right? Like they have all the opportunity to improve and get better in their own time, and hopefully still grow and be great in high school as well. So no, yeah, that playing time, yeah. Sounds like you guys were smart and having that conversation early. That's probably the biggest one, isn't it?
And we have some different philosophies on different things too, right? I think we do. We're different. We're different coaches, and there are times where I'll do a little bit more rotations and things like that. But there's also a different like different personnel, and sometimes he's in more games than I am, right? With as far as our roster construction.
Sure.
But I'll definitely tell people like, hey, it's tournament time or whatever. It's like, I'm going to win. I'm
going for it.
Hey, Timmy normally plays. I'm like, yeah, but you want to win.
This is normal. This isn't normal. This is
like, hey, this is why didn't you play today? And I'll tell the players like, hey, you guys will normally play like 5 to 7 minutes a game, but you're not going to play today, probably if we're close. And I'll be honest with them, like you've had plenty of time, and then I'll pull up kids and we'll put like, our best kid, I'll pull him up and he'll start for me because he's our best chance. That's it.
Yeah.
That's going to start for me for regionals. So, because that's our best chance to win. So that's what we'll do.
And not mixing words, being blunt, I think the parents appreciate that too. Appreciate the honesty as well. And then they know. And then, like you said, then you can defend it.
If you beat around the bush, well, because no, just tell them.
Yeah, don't keep that door open. Yeah. That's funny. Awesome. To wrap up, coaches, I give each guest what I kind of call like a 60-second soapbox, but I'm not going to time you. So don't worry if you go over 60 seconds, but I want to give you kind of a platform to kind of give out like a final thought or message. It could be related to this, it could be related to anything basketball or coaching related that you want. That's the fun part, is that people go all sorts of different directions with this. And I like being able to kind of just open it up for you to kind of take it whatever direction you want. So Coach Cantu, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to let you get your soapbox first. So what in the coaching or basketball related world do you want to hop on your soapbox about?
I was going to talk about just coming to a rebuilding program. I know a lot of people are very scared of it. That's why we've had a lot of men's coaches here, and there's not been a lot of like similarities. So don't shy away from it. I mean, when I knew that South Fulton wasn't that great, like I took that as a challenge. Like I wanted to like, okay, let's make this team good. Let's make this team noticeable. Let's make this team more prideful about boys basketball. When I used to play the college football game back in the, I think it was the late 2000s, back when they had college football for video games. I would never pick. Some people would pick like Bama or Michigan or Texas. I would pick
Yeah.
like Texas State or
Yeah.
like these small colleges, because it's like you always want the Cinderella or the underdog to win and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of similar here. It's like they're an underdog. They've been an underdog for a while and they're tired of being an underdog. So it's like it means more when they win because people weren't expecting it. They have a lot of pride here. They just need to show it. So if you ever have an opportunity to coach a team that doesn't have a good history, be the one to change that. Be the one to have the rebuild. It needs to come with passion. It needs to come with a lot of basketball IQ, and needs to come with some patience too. Like I wanted to change this team right away. In my first year, we won 1 game. So it's going to take some time, but with the right coaching, it can help. And it means a lot more when this team wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Coach Nix.
Man, I don't have much to say other than the sun. Living in the Midwest, where are you right now? We miss you. We need you. It's dreary.
The sun. Well, we have a lot of it here in Phoenix right now. Let's see if I can bottle some of it for you.
See, I'm originally from Hawaii, and I have to remind my mom every winter that she moved me from the pineapple fields to the cornfields. So, pretty much just the sun. Like, go ahead and come out every once in a while. For some reason, the Illinois has become Seattle this winter.
Yes.
And it's gray and dreary and just my shoes are in mud. I cannot keep getting mud on my Jordans.
Oh no, not the Jordans.
No, I have to wear Air Force Ones if you can believe it, because I cannot wear my Jordans. So
oh well, we'll see if we can get it for you. I know the weather.
Please come out. Please dry this place up.
Yeah, it would make your travels for games a little bit more fun, right? All these trips you got to make if it's actually nice out and you're not in the snowstorms or scraping ice or fog or all that. Like I don't know how any of you guys do it out there, but I give you credit. Yeah, I'll wish for good weather and even better results on the court too. So how about both of those? Wouldn't those be nice? Guys, I want to thank you a lot. That flew by, that hour, for coming on and talking about your program and talking about, not just rebuilding, but also kind of working together as coaches. Also, what success kind of looks like and a rebuild looks like at a middle school level. I think that's such a unique and fun perspective to talk about. So, I mean, you guys are trending big upwards. So I know you got practice right after this. You guys are going. So keep doing what you're doing. And how about you go get some hardware too? How about that happens too? Right?
Definitely.
All right. Best of luck, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Coach Nix, Coach Cantu, best of luck going forward. Thank you for coming on and talking to us.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.